Hi everybody. 6 years ago, I launched Women Up. I had an intuition. We had to reinvent feminism. We had to offer a fresh look on this hot and crucial topic. We had to develop a positive and enthusiastic approach to involve the new generation of men and women. 6 years ago, I had an intuition that the generational questions and the gender issues are linked, especially talking about gender diversity in the workplace. Indeed, we are the very first generation of young workers whose a majority of moms have worked. And we observe that the heart of feminist demands, meritocracy, flexibility, work-life balance, are now the very first expectations of the millennials generation in the workplace. That means what they fought for is now what we expect. I think it's time to propose a transversal way to appreciate gender diversity that breaks silos, that offers new perspectives, but first of all, that is disconnected from the traditional feminist ideology based on domination relationship between men and women. The story of Women Up is a story of an idea, this idea. The young's dreams and projection could leverage a feminist vision of our society. Because the young's dreams and projection design a feminist vision of our society, much more equal, much more inclusive, much more balanced. But bringing the new generation of men and women in the intellectual game for feminism was not easy. And to do that, we have to prove the link between gender issues and generational aspects. It's the reason why 6 years ago we conducted the first international survey about gender, millennials generation, and the workplace. The name, the Y Revolution. And in order to specifically involve the new generation of men, 1 year later, we conducted a new survey. What do men think? Guys under 30, 60 different countries, and very, very interesting results. When you ask these young men, how could you describe young women today? The answers were amazing, unpredictable, strong, powerful, and necessary. Forget about kindness and gentle attitudes. But when you ask these men, how could you describe yourselves? The answers were dramatically predictable, trustworthy, and responsible. We can see through these results that if femininity is in movement, reinventing itself with new attributes, masculinity stagnates. And this discrepancy is dangerous. These young men are watching women empowering themselves. They are observing this emancipation trend. They are understanding that Malala, Beyoncé, Emma Watson, and so on, are neo-feminist heroes. They are realizing that their girlfriends are superheroes too, but they stay stuck in an old and static vision of what is masculinity. And this discrepancy is dangerous.
Now, let's talk about today, in 2017, and have a look at our world to make this statement. Women's rights in many societies around the world are in danger. Among the causes of this setback, the return of the infamous patriarchal white man model, the one that is making its comeback to face the so-called masculinity crisis. More than ever, masculinity seems in the middle of a questioning, a reconsideration which has become unsafe. Some men think their masculinity should be reinforced in a world more and more conquered by women. But really, are we that scary? I mean, okay. This masculinist discourse calls out a broad emasculation of men due to this great feminine journey. These men feel insecure. They fear for the loss of their masculine identity and the disappearance of the dominant position of men. And that's why they refuse to consider the notion of gender and cultural constructions, as it is challenging their conception of virility. And it's kind of true. It's no longer enough to have a penis to be considered dominant anymore. As women have progressed in companies and societies, movements have risen in the opposite direction. We are now dealing with conservative movements that have grown stronger in recent years, which have become professionalized, internationalized, and politicized. Formerly minorities, they are today a powerful voice on the political scene.
Faut-il réaffirmer la masculinité?
Controversy sparked by a former Google engineer who wrote a 10-page memo criticizing the company's diversity program, saying women lag behind in the tech world because of their biology.
The men, we're petrified to speak to women anymore. We may raise our voice. You know what? The women get it better than we do, folks. All right? They get it better than we do.
Moi, philosophiquement, et compte tenu de ma foi personnelle, je ne peux pas approuver l'avortement.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
1 in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 women are going to get sexually assaulted on campus, which is just nonsense. Whether it's the wage gap, which is nonsense.
And of course, women must earn less than men because they are weaker, they are smaller, they are less intelligent, and they must earn less. That's all.
Indeed. So, this type of discourse is real, and it was last year. But this type of discourse is actually not really new. Each big historical transformation produces this feeling of virile loss. In a world of deep change, as the one we know, the temptation to refer to a reassuring old model is extremely strong. But it was also the case during previous centuries, for example, where people privileged the manly knight over the effeminate courtiers. It is driven mostly by the fear of weakness, impotence, and a feeling of not finding one's place anymore. In a world where men have to take more power and think that they have to take more power, we must change everything. Time has come for a change. And this is precisely because we are a conscious generation that we are aware of mechanisms of domination and that we know that they are due to systemic structure rather than individuals. We must now seek other tools to solve them. And we, as women, also have a part of responsibility in this. If we continue to build movements accordingly to our others, we will continue to convey this archaic women versus men image, while the context has changed. In the same respect, if these movements do not integrate feminist or gender reasoning, they will be erasing years of work and progress.
50 years ago, Simone de Beauvoir said, "No one is more arrogant, aggressive, or disdainful towards women than a man worried about his virility." Man's virility has been the heart of mutation at every major historical transformation. And now it's much more virility than man's virility that is the heart of our regression. Because in 50 years, the concept of virility has totally changed of substance. 50 years ago, it was a masculine matter. Nowadays, it's becoming a neutral concept. As a woman, as an entrepreneur, I feel virile. I think I am virile. Maybe you feel virile too. And as this concept of virility was becoming neutral, men were completely disoriented in their masculinity. Why? Because since the dawns of days, masculinity was linked to virility. But since the dawn of days, masculinity is much more than virility. It has always been much more than that, and today it must be much more than that. Because nowadays, virility has a feminine version, appropriated by women, who feminize the masculine codes, who refuse to look like men to be leaders, and who are nonetheless courageous, heroic, and powerful. Women who are models, admired, and even fantasized by their fellow men, who see them as new equals and sometimes as new rivals.
Until today, men had both masculinity, which is the biological aspect, and virility, which is the social construction attribute. Women only had femininity. But that was before. Before emancipation, before new feminism, before this fantastic women's saga that aims at redesigning femininity in a more complex and subtle way. So, what's the result? Virility is no longer the prerogative of men. It is more a matter of world evolution, change of cultures, than a transformation of human beings itself. Let's take one of the three dimensions of domination, physical strength. In our civilized, industrialized, globalized, and relatively peaceful world, the old heroic warriors are less and less valued. The new field of expression for strength now relies on competencies, a field where women have proven their worth, both in terms of degrees, physical capacities, or progression within companies. Over the years, women continue to counter the assumption that skills are gender-related. It is exactly the same concerning the dimension of domination. It has become today an economic domination, with women building companies who take responsibilities, who are more and more challenging these relations of power. And although women continue to be paid less than men, progress is here. In 25% of French couples, women make more money than their male partners. And finally, the last dimension, sexual power. Children of sexual liberation, the women of 2017 not only assume their sexuality, but have rather become their sole owners, without being only objects of male desire. So, several questions arise. Is manhood really escaping men, as women are reappropriating themselves the concept of virility? Thus, a form of feminine virility could finally break the relations of domination. Is virility really in decline or in rebirth? And how can we build a gender-equal world with men who no longer found their place?
Today, and especially in the context of the Weinstein scandal, we would like to build a bridge towards those men, those ladies' men, who love, admire, and support the women surrounding them, even if these women are virile, especially because these women are virile. Because these men have understood that feminine virility isn't threatening at all their masculinity. Because these men feel much more male, surrounded by virile women. At Women Up, we are absolutely convinced that masculinity could be enhanced by feminine virility, as well as femininity is enhanced by masculine blossoming. The guys we are going to present you in a few seconds through videos shared with us, shared with you their insights, their solutions, their ideas to create a new definition of masculinity and virility nowadays. It is by raising our sons in that open-minded way that maybe we can change or save the world. They will have to redesign virility, a virility exalted by the strength of women and the fragility of men.
To a woman to do it instead of yours. And I think it's like the the best way to emphasize your own virility is accepting that a woman can do it better than you.
It's our duty as millennial men to have a great appreciation for what women bring, and teaching our kids as good men the idea of caring, the idea of love.
All the women deserve
To be treated equal.
I think we have got to show our sons a new definition of manhood. We really have to show them and model for them how a real man is someone who trusts his sisters and respects them and wants to be on their team and stands up against the real bad guys, who are the men who want to abuse the women.
Andy Sam is the first U.S. player to reach a major semifinal since 2009. How would you describe
Male player.
I beg your pardon?
Male player.
We're just humans.
Word.
So I would love to try and figure out how to build a bridge across that vast ocean of difference between what men and women actually view as feminism, its practice, and how to move it into the future in the most positive way.
That it's not only that men can be feminists, it's that men should be feminists as well. And I am proud of that.
I'm absolutely a feminist. It doesn't cost us anything as men for women to do well.
This is what a feminist looks like.
I do call myself a feminist, absolutely, sure.
I'm definitely as much virile as feminist.
Merci.